Well, happy Sunday, folks. It's the real Captain Kirk here. We're live from One Bethlehem Plaza here in downtown Bethlehem on the 1st of September. It's actually officially meteorological fall. Meteorologists believe September, October, November is fall. Sun says we got a few more weeks. We're excited. We've launched a couple new, we like always when we take what we do for our big Fortune 500 companies and try to take that knowledge and push it down to every small business. So we've launched a couple products called BrewCast Beer and BrewCast Coffee. BrewCast Coffee is good timing here because we get some cold weather here in the east. But a neat syndicated SMB type report, small business report that comes out every morning via email, PDF, or website. Not only telling you what the weather's going to do, but specifically how it might impact syndicated seasonal coffee sales. So our Power of One every degree colder. We've proven that there's about a 2% increase in coffee sales, 10 degrees colder, 20% increase. Conversely, if it's warmer, 10 degrees hotter, about a 20% decline. So again, just think about your own behavior and you'll probably say, yep, that's kind of me. If it's really, really hot out, you're probably leaning more towards your cold beverage versus your favorite hot beverage. So in the event, check out our plans page. Had some press on this on CNBC TV and other outlets. So again, we're excited to see what this will help. Again, small business. Speaking of summer being in the history books here, and fall is just about to start here according to summer. So June, July, August in the U.S. was warmer versus last year, fourth warmest in 39 years. So it wasn't entirely the scorching hot summer of all time that was kind of hyped up. But again, certainly had some intense heat. And the real hot spots would be out there in Central California, Nevada, again, where some of the temperatures were 5 to 10 degrees hotter than this time last year. Northeast, again, we had one of the coldest summers in a decade last year, and again a much warmer summer this year. But a kind of cooling trend. June was the hottest in 3 years, number 2 hottest in 39 years, but by the time we got to August, it was the coolest in 5 years, and number 9 hottest of the past 39 years. So a little bit of a cooling trend toward August. Temp maps on the top and preset maps on top there. There's the trends versus a year ago, how our big retail customers. So again, hot, dry, we'd say the West and the Rockies certainly was favorable for hot seasonal categories, and then maybe the Northeast, obviously, as well. Interesting, Northeast was drier than last year, but again, we had a couple epic rainfall flooding events. Looking at the fall chart here, right, September, October, November, these, again, bars are year-over-year change. So a lot of colder weeks than we had last year, especially here in September and maybe as we get into mid-November. So there'll be some real strong periods, again, for retail seasonal sales. But overall, here we're starting off the coolest in 4 years for September. We'll talk about that here in a minute in the east. So, again, getting a taste of fall for the East Coast. Still thinking active hurricane season here, so we got to watch all these systems coming off Africa. NOAA's watching 3. The one in the middle there has got probably the best chance as it heads toward the Yucatan Peninsula here in the week ahead here. So we'll see. That'll be the one to watch. Again, a couple other systems out there, so we'll see. Maybe this time next week we might actually have a name or two of systems. And again, we can look at 14-day storm track here. And again, you see that maybe toward the weekend, next weekend, Saturday, there could be something here off the East Coast. Again, probably just an inland tropical-like system, but again, kind of coming up from Texas up the Appalachians. So we'll see if it can flare up along the East Coast, but then something out in the Central Atlantic, and then way off coming off Africa. Africa has been very wet, much above average rainfall in the equatorial intertropical convergence zone there in Africa. So very wet. That just means systems should be frequent coming off Africa as we enter the Cape Verde season of September, October. And the last thing we just look at here is just the ocean temperatures versus normal. Again, way above average, 3, 4, 5 degrees above average from the Gulf to the African coast. Now, if we look at these trends versus last year, you can see it's much, much colder water temperatures almost everywhere. North Atlantic's much, much colder. Obviously, La Nina in the equatorial Pacific's colder. North Pacific's colder. So there's definitely a hint that we're entering a cooler oceanic cycle here. Maybe even the AMO cycle looks like it's trying to get colder here. Again, it's been record hot as of late. If we look at last week here, recapping here, ending 31st yesterday, August. Here in the U.S., we were 1.6 warmer than last year, warmest in 3 years, 5th warmest in 39, so much above average. We had all that heat in the Midwest. Everybody's talking about corn sweat, which is just simply evapotranspiration as a corn. Corn tends to evaporate moisture and makes it even more humid. I know Iowa had some dew points in the 80s. That's crazy, crazy humid. But again, corn's helping, but it does it this time every year. Cooler in the west. They had a big cool down. They'll take it. Unfortunately, it won't last, but it's headed our way in the east. Rainfall was up about 6% versus last year, and 19th wettest in 39 years, so about average. Really hot and dry across Europe, number 1 hottest, and dry since 16 years. So that's good for the consumable cold beverages, not so good for the coffee sales. So again, it's better for the summer season, the seasonal categories. Map inset lefts are the trends versus average. If we look at this week, again, the first full week of meteorological fall, You've already had snow in the upper Rocky Mountains, so starting to see some signs of fall foliage. Again, the very, very high elevations of the northern Rockies. Temperatures this week fall like 4.9 colder than last year, coldest in 7 years, 16th coldest in 39 years, below average national temperature. So cold from Texas to Minnesota and points east. Rainfall up about 164% versus last year. What is in 6 years? Again, you see some of that tropical moisture. We'll see. I don't think that system off of Texas will have time to be named, but again, some of that tropical moisture will get caught up along the East Coast. And a lot of this is more toward next weekend, here along the East Coast. Hot 90-degree days are actually down 61%, least in 15 years. So again, definitely more fall-like east, and you see the building heat in the Pacific Northwest. So anything but fall-like out there. Let's look at next week as we get into the middle of September. Now, the peak of the hurricane season is typically the 10th. Don't get hung up on the exact date. It's really September, October that are the big months for hurricanes. So we'll see. Something to watch out there. Nationally, we see a warming trend coming from the west, moving into the upper Rockies, into the plains. So only 0.2 cooler than last year, 14th warmest in 39 years, above average. Still, again, look at the East Coast, still below average temperatures. So I know we get a lot of fans on Facebook that like colder fall weather. So these are your 2 weeks. You know who you are. Again, hot west. Rainfall down 45%, driest in 13 years, fourth driest in 39. That hot index, even though we've got the building heat, it's in areas that don't typically get a lot of 90-degree days. So again, 90-degree days for this week is down 51%, least in 15 years, well below average, again, nationally. If we just aggregate these 2 week trends, the overall theme would be hot western U.S., building in the western U.S., specifically the Pacific Northwest and there in southwest Canada. Here in the eastern half of the country, generally cooler trends, so we'll take it. And precip, again, dry pretty much everywhere except from that Texas to northeast, east coast conveyor belt of tropical-like moisture. And again, we just look at these rainfall trends. You can see all that rain off Africa, again, way above average rainfall there, well over 5 inches in the equatorial regions of Africa, where it is, again, very tropical, obviously. So that's where the Cape Verde systems originate. They come off of there, and again, we just need them to traverse take about 10 to 14 days to go from the coast of Africa to the U.S. So we'll see here. This is the season to watch. And again, the water is very warm off the East Coast, Gulf Coast, Florida. You just got to be careful. Something can flare up with next to no notice, a day or two, and magically we have a hurricane. So again, something to watch here as we go through the core hurricane season. So that, folks, have a great week, and we will be back here again this time next week.